DJ Akademiks is a meatball to me, so he says stuff. He said some stuff about Chicago, rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, he's a buster. He's a weirdo. He's a in real life. He behind the camera, and you gotta just let clowns be clowns, man. Like I was on Everyday Struggle, and I walked out just because I'm not a clown. I don't come from that world of like you make jokes about we up. Excuse me, are we live?
No, we good. We can bleep this.
We used to for trying to film fights,
right?
In the hood.
Yeah,
you fight. What you doing with the camera? We gonna make you fight. What's wrong with you, boy?
Yeah.
We ain't covering no drama. That's called instigating.
Right.
And what's up with you while you at it?
Right.
So like him get weeded out quick.
From the provocative Charlamagne Tha God to Hot 97 Zebro to the Joe Budden podcast as Joe Budden, no one is ever going to capture 100% of the audience's affections. Even so, in a world where contentiousness is expected, no one splits opinion to the degree of DJ Akademiks. Born in Jamaica, before moving to the US as a high schooler, a young Ak, real name Livingston Allen, made his way into the American culture. After getting his degree in biomathematics from Rutgers University, Ak transitioned from college radio DJ to become a unique and incredibly opinionated curator of online media. Eventually, getting an even bigger platform courtesy of Complex's Everyday Struggle, Ak vied for that same unique strain of the American dream that so many rappers do and eked out a brand on his terms. And yet, his success story is one that a lot of people begrudge, in large part due to his tendency to play with fire. At times, this leads him to be the one that receives the scalding, but in other cases, the wider concern is how he runs his operation and how it's been detrimental to not only hip-hop culture, but has negatively impacted real lives. To some, Ak is a beacon of knowledge, defending what Joe Budden used to insultingly term as the lils, from undue criticism by those who are simply too antiquated to understand. To others, he's the toxicity of social media in human form, to the extent that several artists, namely Metro Boomin, requested that he keep me off your gossip page altogether, please. But where the interest lies is in finding the shades of gray and determining what it is that compels academics to invoke these responses. First off, let's be fair and start with those who seek Ak as a positive addition. Generally speaking, this camp is typified by younger rappers whose antics populate Ak's numerous social media accounts and have, in certain cases, sought him out as a favorable outlet to speak from. As many rappers have grown disillusioned with traditional media, Akademiks has come in as a happy medium between fan and reporter. Case in point, when XXXTentacion came out of jail, he didn't head straight to major sites or to tell his story to condemning ears. He went straight to the source that his fans or possible converts were likely to congregate at. Capable of having cordial but probing chats with rappers that normally abstain from doing long-form interviews with journalists, whether in fear of misrepresentation or legal entanglements, Ak has been able to scratch beneath the surface and permit glimpses of the real 21 Savage and Lil Yachty, among others. Having previously chatted with NBA Youngboy on IG Live, Ak has since teased it as a 2-hour-plus conversation with the rapper. In fact, he was so eager to express himself on Ak's platform that he reportedly made a 40,000 detour on his private jet to meet with me in Philly and talk for 3 hours. Why choose Akademiks though? Well, for the young breed of rappers that have found themselves vilified by large sections of the mainstream press, Ak, a largely self-made figure with a tireless work ethic who grew his buzz online in the same vein as many of them, it's seen as a safe, empathetic pair of hands. Through his content, he's proved to have a crazy amount of knowledge of how modern hip-hop plays out. And so, it's not exactly a stretch to assume that he'll understand them too. That said, the plaudits aren't limited to modern artists. During an interview on Everyday Struggle, Birdman was very complimentary of Akademiks' business acumen and A&R skills, claiming this:
I like the platform you got and what you're doing.
Appreciate
you helping artists, because
Appreciate it.
I think you know talent yourself, brother. You be putting on there makes sense to me, you know.
I appreciate it.
I think you should start your record label, man. Honestly, that was one of the reasons why I came here. I wanted to tell you that.
The wartime correspondent for a generation of rappers, Ak charts their every move and never fails to capitalize on a story. However, he's by no means an impartial observer. Much like many of today's rappers, Ak understands that controversy is a currency. And over the course of his bravado and Hennessy-filled Twitch live streams, Ak has been known to let his mouth entangle him in scraps. And while he infamously claimed that he will give the same energy to young bands as I would give to Nicki Minaj, in practice, Ak very much wears his biases on his sleeve. At some point, we gotta start calling these rappers out for making threats and nothing happens, Ak said, after expressing his frustration about his many beefs. It's not on me, it's on y'all. They've been saying this for years. In reality, a rapper who gets on Instagram Live and tells you that they're gonna do something is most likely capping, bro. But after evading consequences for years, it seems like the day will be soon coming where one of those rappers are gonna actually retaliate. After making the baseless claim that Freddie Gibbs is absolutely irrelevant, the man behind two of the most accomplished projects in recent memory went after Ak, labeling him a Teletubby and supplementing his remark with some hilarious offensive merch. Unaware that he was provoking a true titan of trolling, Akademiks was evidently rattled by all that Freddie Kane had subjected him to and took his frustrations out during an ill-advised tirade about Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. Banned from his beloved Twitch, forced to apologize, and temporarily suspended from everyday struggle, Ak finds himself well and truly on the back foot for the first time in his career. But in reality, this is the culmination of years of dubious decision-making. Two peas in a pod, and in some eyes, cut from the same cloth, 6ix9ine and Akademiks' working relationship and apparent friendship did a lot to solidify both men's brands. But when Tekashi went to prison, one side of the partnership escaped scot-free from the ramifications of the clout chasing and carnage that 6ix9ine left in his wake. Although, when you get used to commanding high numbers from making outlandish behavior, it's hard to unlearn. In this sense, as his own antics began to overshadow his reporting, Ak may have flown a little too close to the sun and compromised his position. Speaking back in February of 2018, Ebro Darden admonished Ak for his short-sighted ways, inadvertently depicting where he's at now in the process.
He's gotten looped into being the promotional vehicle for Tekashi 6ix9ine. And Akademiks, you lying on behalf of Tekashi 6ix9ine. Bit of advice, young Akademiks, sir. Don't tie yourself to these artists, bro. Just gotta be patient. You're gonna lose your credibility if it hasn't been lost already. And especially you standing next to something like that that's...
In the years since, he's became Tekashi's informal spokesperson. Ak became an increasingly easy target for ridicule among hip-hop figures, old and new. Described by YBN Corday as low-key and old head too, trying to act young, wearing a tight-ass Ed Hardy shirt, some believe that Ak has become almost a parody of himself, fulfilling a self-imploding arc that's similar to the misguided behavior and eventual fall-offs of many of the rappers that he's documented. Labeled as one of the biggest I've ever met by Joe Budden and officially canceled by Meek Mill, it'd be easy for an outsider to be mystified by why these elder statesmen would even bother targeting an internet phenomenon. But ever since Vic Mensa wanted to slap Ak in the face for building a following off of clowning our deaths by documenting the war in Chirac, it became clear that the issue arises from what Ak represents and how he repurposes real life woe for his gain. Since his early days, one of the key components of Ak's media strategy is to sensationalize street drama and promote the antics of modern hip-hop and pop rap's ruling class, an activity which old heads see as a nuisance at best and at worst, a danger. Or as Meek put it, the act of gassing a lot of beef that got people killed and hurt and never donated $1 to the culture. Having infamously walked out of his sole appearance on Everyday Struggle, the late Nipsey Hussle's outlook on academics goes a long way to depicting the wariness that hip-hop artists and fans feel towards him.
I ain't saying I'm gonna do nothing to act. I say you gotta let clowns be clowns and let dudes self-destruct, because I've been paying attention to his message. You know, I ain't like it, but I respect how you eat, bro. Whatever you do to pay your bills, I can't knock you. But after a while, you becoming, you getting out of control.
In this case, his platform on Everyday Struggle has been both a blessing and a curse, exposing Act's brand of coverage to those who wouldn't watch his streams or interact with his socials. As a result, making him accountable for his viewpoints and tactics in a way that he never was beforehand. In the early days of the show, the disparities between Joe Budden and Act's mindsets were played up and amplified to help foster the idea of a war between old heads and a brash new generation. Yet while this was largely done to ensure numbers, there was one moment in which Budden warned academics of the consequences of promoting self-destruction. Speaking about Act's friend XXXTentacion, Joe articulated the viewpoint of Act's detractors like no one else has and proved why he should exercise more discretion.
They gonna hurt him. Stop reporting on street. The street will escalate to a point where every time his name come up, I give him good advice, he ignores it. So now what you think I'm gonna do? Continue to waste words and breath? He got some issues and he don't value his own life. He done got punched on a stage. He is fighting for his life in court.
Okay.
You are beating fans up. Man, no.
Striking as his remarks are in hindsight, it was Act's matter-of-fact response of, "That's on him," that really hits home, suggesting that he doesn't feel any obligation to chronicle what's going on in a responsible manner, essentially washing his hands of any fallout that might ensue from a video he posts or the drama-oriented culture that he helps to feed into. Combined with Ebro's prophecy, we see where the stain against academics emanates from. In essence, it's born of his decision to prioritize controversy and clout over integrity, willing to use beef, Instagram warfare, and unsavory public incidents as fuel that propels his brand forward. His sensibilities align with many younger rappers. Whereas for more wizened MCs or onlookers that don't wish to see the same cautionary tales play out again and again, this tabloid style of reporting is in violation of every sacred rule in the game. Incompatible with the era of a Meek or a Gibbs, Act's mindset is one of exposure over everything. And while this may not jive with rappers of a previous era, it's tailor-made for the social media infatuated one that he knows that he has his grip on. In closing, when the dust settles, the remedy for Act's waning image boils down to whether he'll be able to prove himself to have good intentions for hip-hop and its future, as Birdman believes. Otherwise, the worry is that he'll lean into the more harmful traits of his brand, lending proof to the idea that he's as parasitic as Vic Mensa infamously speculated that he was. For now, only time will tell. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hip Hop Madness and join the movement.